I was taken on by a stonemason who just started up his own business and recognised the great need for traditionally trained stonemasons to conserve and restore our built heritage using lime mortar. We now have a nice uniform colour in the wall, so the wall is holding some moisture, so we're ready to apply some lime wash. So we use quicklime to make this lime wash. It's a very raw, natural product. So once we have the mix in the desired consistency, nice and loose, some would call it soupy. Nice and loose, we will hand cast evenly around about 6 to 8 millimetres over the whole wall, trying not to pass over the same area 2 times. Key to successful harling really is regulating the suction in the background, working in a controlled environment where we've created some shade from the sunlight, reduced the drying effects of the wind. Our mix is consistent, our cast is consistent from top to bottom. So once the mortar that we've applied is stiffened up a little bit, we go over it with, I use this tool which has been cut down, and I just use this to just gently press back the surface. Without pulling it, it just compresses some of the high spots. Limestone is quarried from the earth and it's taken to a kiln where it's fired around about 1000 degrees. During that process it gives off carbon dioxide and that produces quicklime, the raw form of building binder material that we use. When we add water to the quicklime, a process called slaking, we dilute it to suit. So if it's going to be a building mortar, we would make that quicklime into a putty and we would add sand to that to be able to construct and build the masonry together. We could dilute it slightly further and make it a harling mortar and cast and apply it onto the building much as we've done at the Canongate building. We can heavily dilute the quicklime with more water to produce a lime wash. We can add pigments to that lime wash and then we apply it to our building so that it can reabsorb carbon dioxide, which completes the lime cycle. We've now come back to our harled wall. It's been under protection for a couple of weeks in a contained environment, so we created shelter from the wind and rain and we monitored the harling so it didn't dry out too quick, so it allowed time to carbonate. This is our lime wash. We've diluted it so it's fairly thin. We use a nice heavy brush, a nice soft bristle brush. Apply it liberally. It's a blanket of mortar which seals the wall in from the elements, but it's a poultice. So the harling not only keeps moisture out, but it helps draw any moisture within the masonry out to the surface as well. This is the third coat that's going on now. So at this point, this is when we want to burnish the wall. And what this does is it's thin down the lime wash ever so slightly. It works some of the very fine particles into the depths. And it also brings out the most strength from the pigments to get a much stronger colour.
Traditionally, stone walls were meant to breathe. They're a natural material, and by applying lime in this way, it means that the whole wall from the inside to the outside is permeable and it can breathe in a natural way, just as your skin would breathe. So we're really trying to return it to the original state so that it will perform better and last for longer. As well as being more aesthetically pleasing, the lime wash actually performs better than what has been there before.
To take a building when you first find it, a traditional stone construction that is tired and wet and weeping and sad because, you know, we live in a moist environment. We live in an extreme environment where the difference between heat and cold can be vast in one day. So when I find a traditional building and I take off all the modern intervention and get back to the bones of the building and then start the process of stitching it back together, making it strong and then protecting it from the elements, and then to come back to that building years to come and just see it sitting there glowing and healthy, it makes me very proud.